I looked about and looked about for what a lesson could be today. Yesterday was about death. And I started thinking, COVID, no. How many were dead from COVID? No. And then I thought, Beatitudes. Blessed are who? Blessed are the carers. Blessed are all those people who care about, for, with, yada, yada. So blessed are the carers, especially those who care for the earth. In order to come through this coronavirus, it is necessary to look after and care for each other. We must support those who care for the weakest, the sickest, and the elderly, because they play a vital role in today's society, even if they often do not receive the recognition or especially the remuneration they most deserve. This care must also address our common home, that all forms of life are interconnected, and our health, truly our actual lives, are dependent upon the health and stability of the vast ecosystems which support millions of lives and stretch to nearly half of the planet, as well as the stability and health of smaller ecosystems that subsume the whole of that full ecosystem, as well as over thousands of similarly sized other ones, are often a thought of far too much data, far too many beings for which God has entrusted us to care, to manage, support, and maintain. That humans have failed is a vast minimizing understatement of the total abdication of responsibility for the task. God gave to humans the custodianship of the earth. No job or task has been done with more incompetence. Nothing humans have attempted has been a bigger failure since the antediluvian times. The best antidote against the misuse of our common home is contemplation of time, the miracles Christ wrought, and looking at photos of the birds, like the beautiful bee eaters from around the world. There are over 19 individual varieties of this bird, these gorgeous, indescribable little birds. Their colors are so vibrant. They look as if Christ and God just finished painting them. All 19 varieties from South America, from Africa, from Saudi Arabia, from every place basically around the equator, in every country that they exist, all of them, every single one of them is under threat of extinction due to humans. That it's happening to all 19 varieties simultaneously says what a bunch of screw-ups we are, and is the best case for earth change. Because it's not called climate change, it's earth change. But when you call it earth change, people are like, oh, that's too big. What do you think climate is, huh? With contemplation, it is easy to fall prey to an unbalanced and superb anthropocentrism, which gives excessive importance to our role as human beings, positioning us as absolute rulers of all other creatures. A distorted interpretation of biblical texts on creation has further contributed to this misinterpretation, which leads to the exploitation of the earth to the point of suffocating and destroying it. We believe that we are at the center, claiming to occupy God's place, and so we ruin the harmony of his design. God was not at the center of anything that he created. He was always and ever at the edges. He was never at the center of anything. And humans, especially certain ones that have attitudes bigger than the whole space continuum, they believe everything revolves around them, just like children believe. But they hopefully outgrow it. If not, they become predators. They become the reason 19 different species of birds are simultaneously facing extinction. They are the reason that the hedgehog, the number one animal of the United Kingdom, 20 years ago, there were more than 15 million of them. And in the next 20 years, they will be extinct. Thank you, humans. You're doing a bang-up job. God did not give humans the earth. We were not put at the center to occupy God's place, because God is never at the center. He's at the margins. And so we ruin the harmony of his design. We become predators, forgetting that our vocation is to be only custodians of the planet. A custodian sets things aright. We don't go around and ruin everything we touch. Our mission is to care for our common home. The earth needs to be worked so as to live, but it must not be exploited. Instead, our mission is to care for our common home, for the Christ to return to it in the future. If we destroy this earth, Christ will never come again. This earth planet was only ours on temporary loan. It was never to be ours permanently. Our poorest siblings and Mother Earth lament the damage and injustice that has been caused and demand that all take another course. In Scotland, they will be discussing this, but it will be all a great big card game to see who can get the best settlement. Makes me sick. It is important to recover the contemplative dimension. When we do this, people discover the intrinsic value of things given to them by God. Those who do not know how to contemplate nature and creation do not know how to contemplate people in all their richness. And they became one-dimensional. They become just one thing. They become a single issue creature. And you can see by the last elections in the United States, for many, many, many of those voters, they didn't have a clue in a box what they were voting for. They only knew what they were voting against. Those who exploit nature end up exploiting people and using them like slaves. This is a universal law. Those who know how to contemplate will more easily set to work to change what produces degradation and damage to health. They will strive to educate and promote new production and consumption habits to contribute to a new model of economic growth that guarantees respect for our common whole and respect for each other. Those who follow the path of contemplation and caring become guardians of our common home, guardians of life and hope. This is needed in order to preserve and protect our common home, the garden planet, for future generations. This is needed to protect the earth for the return of Christ. In particular, the indigenous or aboriginal peoples of every continent, to whom we all owe a debt of gratitude. But we also owe those movements, associations, popular groups, which are committed to protecting their territory with its natural and cultural values. These social realities are not always appreciated, and at times they're even obstructed. But in reality, they contribute to a peaceful revolution, the revolution of care. We stress that everyone has a role to play in caring for creation. Each one of us can and must be a guardian of the common home, praising God for his creatures and contemplating and protecting them. Each time you view a new animal or creature on TV program, thank God for its beauty and uniqueness, and pledge that you will work to protect that creature. Each time you see a living koala, a wombat, a kangaroo, or a wallaby, or any of the thousands of birds unique to Oceania, commit that much stronger to protecting the creatures' homes from destruction by fire caused by humans. Because never again are over 3,000 million creatures going to be killed in 127-day period, with 1 billion, that is 1,000 million additional in the subsequent 60 days, died due to starvation, dehydration, and death, a very slow, brutal death, due to infection by the burns. The wilds of the earth had their own equivalent of a coronavirus in Australia, in California, in Nova Scotia. During the 2019 fires, 2020 fires, 2021 fires, as over 157 species were wiped off the face of the earth, except for the dozen or so that were included in zoos. None have been found anywhere since the fire. And the populations of koala reduced by 37%, kangaroo reduced 48%, and 7 species wiped out. Wallabies and wombats each reduced an estimated 54%, and again, more than 50% of species wiped out. Bird species from inland, and those like the bee-eaters, with their colors appearing just painted by God, the losses are over 65%. Work to heal this planet. We all need to live here together. So work together.